Deblohit worked with Avanade, and he's pretty much a known personality in the cybersecurity window. And he is going to present us Copilot for security, driving faster security operations. Yeah, the stage is all yours, Deblohit.
Hello, everyone. Am I audible? Not too loud? I hope so. Okay. Um, Thank you for having me. First of all, it's really good to again speak with the community in the region and activating it. So a bit about me. I think just I'm just like an engineer like all of you. I come from a company called Avanade. I work there. So it's a joint venture company between an Accenture and Microsoft. So I'm also a Microsoft baby in some way or the other. So now important thing is that why in this community speaking is very important because I absolutely in day out, security is not without infra. Security is nowhere, without an application and everything. So every day I'm talking either to an application person or an infra person. So for me, obviously, security plugged in everywhere. So I am, talking to all of you in my capacity. Now, before I go and present anything, what I'm going to speak is going to be very important. Now, we are all aware how Dynamics 365 is, is huge. Someone who is working on ERP, uh, he is doing entire life on that, and the dynamics of it's huge. And I can tell you, from a person who is working with Oracle and SAP also, when they understand or try to understand the Microsoft world, I mean, they are fully, they take 6 months to understand the ecosystem itself. I think you have also heard and talked to some of them where they're like, okay, which module I connect to, right? Okay. But even more than that, why I come and speak of security perspective is, and this slide is quite relevant. Do you know what is the biggest news in the region? The theft which happened in American hospital. Okay, so we do not know about it, right? We know a bit. It's not spoken a lot about because it's a 400 and what I can say 450, and out of that data you can go and search. There were 450 high net worth individuals whose data was leaked. And when I say data, even the transactional data, right? So you can go and have a look at that. Now, this is not only that it is happening in Dubai. And when I talk about that, you can understand American Hospital Dubai is having a huge footprint of what not cloud application you can think about, right? It's a very big hospital. It has a CRM, it has an ERP where you're storing everything. It's have a billing system. So I think it rings a bell, right? It's connected to our world. While we are focused in our main scope of work, now if you tell me if I'm a security person, am I bothered about the roles and the functional roles and other things in the CRM? Maybe I'm not in depth, but I need to be aware because I have to be understanding your space of the world. In the vice versa space is very important to understand that anything what we say as security by design, or if you have heard, if you're in the Microsoft Dynamics world, there's a new concept called success by design. Have you heard about that term coming? Yeah. Yes, and success by design is just a kind of a one notch up where they're saying don't think about security or Dynamics 365 baseline controls as different, because these are the sum of the attacks which is happening on the application, on your modules, on things which you are not cared about. And by role, you should not be cared about. But by design, there should be some framework which will give you an easy flow chart, step 1 till 10, which will cover you. That's security by design, right? Why I'm speaking this, all these things when I'm talking about Copilot, I'll talk to it. Copilot is again going to be an enabler of vulnerability. Now you will be saying, God, you're not selling Copilot. You're making me scared. You should be scared. And I tell you why. Now, do we all love Superman? And we all love Spider-Man, right? What's the famous dialogue in the Spider-Man movie? With great powers? And to be very frank, in this world, data is the new fuel. Okay? Even, even when you see the vision of Dubai or the vision of Middle East, have you seen the vision? The vision talks about that the data is the main fuel of that. The AI journey of this Middle East is because they understand that data is the main fuel. It's not only going to be the the real oils and everything, because everything is driven by data. Okay, so now some of the biggest breaches that you see, the OpenAI credential leak, the healthcare AI breach, the Google Gemini prompt injection, all these things are something which is already happening in the world. And this is something which is already given. I have given a link. You can actually look at this. And one of the important thing is that the father of AI, the one who created the entire autonomous AI system in Google, he left the job of Google. Do we all know that? Why? Exactly.
Was getting too powerful, and he knew some secret that was happening behind.
Absolutely, you're right. That means he's scared that we do not know about the risks of AI before even using the AI. And isn't that evident with the recent thing which we happened in the region, in American hospital, where I won't go into the depth, but you will see the threat research coming and everything. It's not that simple. Your database is getting leaked. Every organization is enabling AI, at least a chatbot. You have a chatbot. You go to Saudi German hospital, or you go to any hospital out there, or if you have a connection of Do or Etisalat, what's the first thing that you interact with for a health check? It's a chatbot. What does it ask from you? Your details, like the OTP generated, at least a mobile number, and then it will send an OTP, right? You're going into the loop of data sharing. Now I'll come to the real context of it, and I'll make it even interesting to you, because I'll show some demo and how, even without caring that you're a security person, because please understand, going forward, roles will get merged. You won't be having in a mid-sized organization people who will be just doing dynamics and not cared about the other things. You will be asked with the power of AI to actually be knowledgeable about few components, so that you are the whole and all owner of that particular application. Now you are a dynamics engineer. Do you really care about making a JSON script to make a automation to remediate an alert? No, you're not cared about that, right? You need an enabler. And that's what exactly I'm here to talk about. Now, if you see, these are the real statistics I'm talking about. This is something which the company which I work for, Avanade, we have been hearing this. And these are coming from our traditional customers in the region and globally, who are just starting to test the AI. And during the testing, they found 82.6% are manipulation attack. The new attack is no more in like, they're doing a OTP theft or anything. They can manipulate you. How I can manipulate you? I can manipulate you by giving you a wrong prompt injection. Today, be honest, very honest. Do you really read a full article when you're searching for some information? And how are you sure enough that these are absolutely correct information with a lot of granular details, which is there in Wikipedia, which is there in a particular blog post, and those extractions are considered? Can you make sure that all those data are given? No, right? Flashback 5 years ago, what did you do? Searched in Google or Yahoo, you had 5 top articles which are recent hits, right? They do by the SEO optimization. I'm going in a bit of crux because it will help you understand what I'm talking about. You go there, you use your mind, you try to extract what are relevant from you. 5 articles, good relevant data, in your mind you summarize and you write a summary, right? You do that. Was that also, it was tedious. 5 minutes versus 2 hours. And I kid you not, if you, any one of you have been doing any kind of response to a client, a very good deck, or for example, if you have to give an architecture to a client or say what it works, it takes time when you have to go through an article. Let's be honest, and that's the fact. But what did you do? You learned the data, and there was no manipulation because you were verifying that from the source itself. Can I manipulate you? If I manipulate my AI logic, can I manipulate you? In the, and there was one example, and I'll tell you what. In the, during the lockdown, when the COVID lockdown happened, there was a very big AI based game which was attacking the young childs, the blue whale. Have you heard about that?
Yes.
It was even before that, people didn't know the word of AI, but it was an AI. Come on, it was learning your everyday task. It was giving you task.
Yeah.
It was learning how you interact. Can't I do that with a prompt? I can do that. Can't I do that? I can do that. I can even just give a simple QR code that you will feel like you are just clicking to me on LinkedIn. It will bypass you and just download a SDK, small SDK. And with that SDK, you know, we all know SDK, right?
Yes.
Right? Be a small JavaScript. Your mobile phone is now my tool because what I need is a compute engine and a way to connect to my source. And I can use your machine as a way to create new attacks. Something which we know as DDoS attacks and everything, which uses the the malicious engines, right? We all know that. I'm not going to spend here much of time. I'm going to make it more fun. Now, all good. I've scared you a lot. Attacks happening in American hospital. Google founder went on, said, I'm going on a holiday. Lifetime. I've created an AI and now I scare it. Now, but you will be using AI. Okay? Because, okay, let's face the fact. The Spider-Man theory. With great powers come great responsibilities. But once you have the power, doesn't the world doesn't care about the responsibilities. They all want to make the thing go faster because now you have 10 minutes, noon delivery, Kareem in battling for 8 minutes. Everything is faster. Okay? Everything is faster. Time is money, right? Data is money. So there won't be a slowdown. Guys, let's be honest. There won't be a slowdown of you using AI. But the thing is that let us be responsible in this, that how I'm going to use an AI, and I don't need to be a super, techie or a security person. There are just principles that you need to know. Just make sure those check marks are being done by either you or someone who is claiming, you know what, don't worry, it's secure by design. Don't boil the ocean. It's all good. Ask them these 5 pillars. Just these 5 pillars. Have an answer to them. Guardrail yourself. So information, application, identity, endpoint, availability, and operations. And I'll tell you, it's self-explanatory of what you're actually looking here. But the thing is that why it is from left to right, the information security is very important because any AI model, if it is not controlled by a compliance mechanism and it doesn't have a logic that if it is not meeting a compliance, it cannot act. If you cannot guardrail that, you cannot control it. As simple as that. Okay. Now the thing is that application security. So for example, forget about the SaaS, DaaS, and other things. The SDLC or the threat modeling. So basically, someone was saying that one of our friends that you can actually have MCP server, and I'll tell you that MCP server, which can actually reference or which can call a particular external API or retrieve something from a database, isn't it? Right? But how can you control that when it is not within a SharePoint site and it is coming from a database which is either Oracle on your premises or a government database which is never controlled for last 10 years, okay, and that's the truth of it, is not exploiting sensitive data. So you need to have some guardrails for it, okay? I'm going to talk about the guardrails in a pictorial way, which will stick in your mind. The endpoint security. You are an endpoint. Your laptop, your mobile phones, you speaking on AirPods, these are endpoints. Anything where the data is processed. Now, all of us has AI-enabled phones, Siri, or for example, we have Gemini popping up or the Huawei AI popping up. There's a weird feature in, and I'll give you very basic human examples. And before I go to the Copilot prompts, did you see that whenever you're having an AirPods plugged in, and there is an internet on, sometimes if it is plugged in for long, it will pop up saying Siri, and it will start reading the messages. Did it occur to you? Does it happen to you, right? Can you control it? If you ask Siri to turn it off, it says that you need to actually go to the support center and ask specifically to turn off in your mobile. Who asked you for that control? Who did anyone ask you to give permission to the mobile company to have that live conversation coming in? So tomorrow, if your child has to be manipulated by a Google device or something which is sitting, it already has a backend data of your voice manipulation. Okay. Now, see where I'm coming from. And there are ways how you can be centrally using Copilot to save those. Now, coming to the, so this is something which I say, if you have to remember in your mind, IAIE hyphen AO, where each of the pillars, which I say that information, application, identity, and endpoint, these are the first things that you start with. AO is nothing but availability and operations. So what happens if your AI model is corrupted, but you still need to run your airlines business, your hospitality business? Do you have a manual or a particular non-AI backup to run your business? These are human questions, right? Tomorrow, so for example, Skynet attacks. I don't remember the movie name. What was the movie name where there was Skynet? Terminator, very good, exactly. Skynet takes over the day, the doomsday and everything. You remember the movie where they go back and hide in a particular bunker where everything was analog. Everything was analog and still the world was running. So what I'm coming to is that, forget about that, example, but I'm saying availability. Have an availability with your organization, or at least ask them the question. Now, let's come to real core things. Okay, very good. What are you selling me? I'm not selling you anything. You already have all this thing in your organization. Because whenever you take any D365, it is always mapped to any M365 security or M365 licensing in somehow or the other. The starting thing is that, and I think many of my friends spoke in parts and pieces, just tell them that whether you have enough controls with Purview to understand your DLP, or do you have a Purview to track your AI queries, AI accessing the sensitivity data, at least the baseline. And I'll kid you not, if you go and search, and I won't bore you, but I'll give you a real example. There are out of the box controls there. You just need to enable them. And to be very frank, in all these modules, today you have inbuilt embedded Copilot. If you ask them simple English, I want to block any access where document doesn't have the sensitivity level, blah, 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 high confidentiality, internal only, or something like that, it can literally go and take that action. So why don't I actually have a Purview and does a AI SDK to block it? Now, Defender for Cloud, I was talking about AI security posture management. Someone was asking, how do I do that, right? So now, it doesn't only do a posture management of how AI works, but again, if there is a pattern of a DDoS attack where it is trying to prompt from inside out, okay, and try to, and it is trying to create a internal chaos, okay, and try to give a DDoS attack or give an external access or something, you can still block that. Important thing is Copilot. Security Copilot is the heart of doing everything. You don't need to know a JSON or a YAML, ARM template, or a bicep template. Today, the world is moving in a way you need to have common sense. Very honest, humanity and common sense. To be honest, that's the only thing which is going to be left. And importantly, even if you're doing with Copilots and everything, as I told you, 5 years ago, you would read a particular topic, 5 different articles, and come up with much more data than just believing an AI Copilot today, which will give you just what he thinks or what it thinks is a good prompt or a good output, right? So the thing is that you need to have a conscious to say, okay, whether this looks good or not. So so Copilot is going to be your enabler for many of those prompted things. The last but not the least, or I will say you start from here, is securing your identity conditional access. One thing, just in time, okay? It's just like salt. It's just like salt in cooking. I think everywhere in the world, salt is such a essential ingredient. Even if you do not, if you cannot pull a Parmesan, or you can, forget to put, what I can say, chili flakes. But I think salt, without salt, it won't taste anything. Identity is just like salt. If your identity is screwed, pardon my language, but if it is screwed, your entire organization is screwed. The thing which happens is that any organization today, especially who are using AI as a new hype, they do not. So yeah, hello. So any organization who is using it, they are forgetting to use one thing, just in-time access. What does it mean? Okay, so for example, I am interacting with any one of you on a business application, business to business application over AI. Do I need to keep that particular session or that web session always open? Do I need to give you an access to for all my session, even an AI session, to be open? No, I do not want. The session terminates just when the prompt response terminates. And it can go granularly, and that's what my friends were actually stating, that you can have agentic AI for a particular task. So for example, if there is an HR, it doesn't mean you have a HR Copilot which gives an access to all the HR for all the tasks. It is specific to the task. So you use AI today for a specific task, and you give a particular credential and an access for that specific task. So just in time. So all boils down to your identity. So Entra ID is the new name of Active Directory, right? We all know that. So identity is the first thing, right? From where you start. So I always say go from there to here. Okay, because there you start, then you know that Copilot is a journey. With all that, you will do the magic. You will write prompt rather than a code, but you need to make sure you have enough control, whether it is on the infra layer, whether it is on the CI/CD layer, whether you have a hybrid, because for ERP people is very important. For your Dynamics world, there are multiple modules where you have a hybrid environment, where you have even customers where they have a supply chain management, and their on-premise servers, on-premise engines do get connected to your Dynamics 365 platform. Now, how do you control or manage the access and everything centrally? So it's very important. And then comes the purview. Now this is where I actually going to end my the slides and just go to the demo. That is something which we always say, and I always prefer giving a demographic, that what is important. Now, this is coming directly from the Microsoft, the best reference architecture. But within that, for Dynamics people, what is important? The bare minimal, right? If you're going to go and ask your project manager, hey, I just came to know that these are so vulnerabilities. I go and you shoot them the entire picture. You will be saying, okay, thank you so much. Go and do certification, but do come to me because we do not have budget for this. Simple. But what you need to specify them, don't get scared. Start with small, secure by design. Okay? And you can tell them, I do not need a whole of a thing. I need to protect my endpoint. How do I do that? With Defender for Endpoint. And the next question will be, are you going to manage it? Yes, I have embedded Copilot, where you tell me what I need to monitor, or say the client how they can monitor it. And I do not need to configure the way of security operations. I can prompt them. The important thing comes here, the Entra. The thing out there is a Defender XDR layer. It depends on what module of the Dynamics you are going into. So basically, you will be having Defender for Endpoint and Defender for Cloud as a de facto, which I showed you in the earlier thing. It will be there. Now, Defender for Cloud has multiple things. So it can cover your server, it can cover your containers and everything. And all of those data feeds into your Copilot prompts, okay? But it depends on what you're trying to do. But Entra is the heart of everything. So your credential, your identity, your federation, everything is done by Entra and everything. And then depending on whether you're interacting with the SharePoints, you're having a lot of email communication and all, so you have Defender for Office 365, or if you're having a SaaS application integration, and you need to actually control who can access those applications, even by using a prompt or anything, so you have Defender for Cloud Apps. But in a vis-a-vis, just remember the earlier slide, and I think I always make it simpler, even for my customers and everything. Don't boil the ocean. If you want to start your journey, just start with this 4. You have a Copilot journey, but for that, you need Entra ID, Defender for Cloud, and Purview AI. That's what you need to actually know. Now, let's understand Copilot for security, the main topic, which I would love to talk in depth for hours and hours, but I won't. So, importantly, what is the flow? This is actually what you're doing. Now, just absorb this for one particular moment, like a snapshot in your mind. It's as simple as that. If you see what I've given out there is all your solutions, which is by default integrated with Dynamics 365, isn't it? Can't you actually integrate Purview with your Dynamics 365 module? It is possible. Can you monitor your CI/CD pipeline or your servers or your containers, or for example, your network activity, which is part of your Dynamics 365 design, by the way, from a single place called Defender for Cloud? You can do that. So for your team who is actually concerned about the security, I really do not need them to go and monitor each module. I don't need to let them to go and monitor Purview and run a query and monitor it. Do I really need 5 people 24/7 to do that? No. I need a particular Copilot for security, which can use prompts for security products, which are sent to them, simple English prompts in a particular logical flow. The Copilot will access something which we call as plugins. What are plugins? Plugins are nothing but integrations. So if you understand, plugins are nothing but one module talking to other. Okay? Giving you an example. Are you all aware about Azure AD B2B, B2C? You use that somewhere or the other for when you're interacting with multiple modules. What do you do when you're saying, oh, I'm doing Azure AD B2B or B2C, means business to business or business to client? You're integrating. It's a plugin. You're plugging it in. You're plugging your environment to have a communication with a external environment. Copilot plugin. It's my Copilot, agentic AI. I'm plugging in with a product. That's simple. And when you're having a Microsoft product like a Purview, Defender for Cloud, or Entra, it is a native integration. You just need to click, and I'm going to show that. Now, when you're doing all those things, Copilot receives what it does is that it converts your simple English into an LLM responses, and then it actually accesses those plugins to give you a collated response that what did it find out. And that's the entire thing. So it's not using any kind of internet going and stating that, hey, I just found this article in internet, this might be relevant. No, you're giving them the source. What are the sources? Your entire prompting from where you're defining the source. So, and that's the beauty of it. It's never going to be an open source response, because you're defining the place from where it is giving you the relevant data. If it doesn't have any information, it will come. There is no incident or there is no information about what you're asking or of a security risk. It will not say, I feel, or from internet. No, nada. It won't. Okay. Now, extremely good. Now let's come to the agentic one. Now I'll go with the DLP agent, and I'll show you one of my demo, which I actually did for a customer, and then I'll show how you develop an agentic AI. So I will show you the JSON script, how simple it is if you understand the flow. It will just take 5 minutes to make you understand. But let's say Security Copilot autonomous agent. What's happening? As my earlier friends told you, that you should create an agentic AI for a particular task, not generic, right? Generic means on OpenAI. Generic means ChatGPT. Do you use ChatGPT for doing a particular task with a knowledge base? You don't do that until unless you're doing an enterprise in a connection and everything. But you use ChatGPT like you're doing. You don't read 5 articles today. You ask ChatGPT. Okay, so for example, you will ask ChatGPT about, I do not know about CRM, whatever, this module, give me your details. It will give you details what it feels right. Okay, what it feels right, but it will not actually give you a detail from a particular source which you have defined, right? It's open versus close. That's a very important thing. So now out here, if you see that what it does is that agentic AI is actually based on the same Copilot for security or the same Copilot engine. Now, the Copilot for security is based on the same Copilot foundry or the same Copilot architecture, but it is framed to ask the right agents or the right query for security. It is meant for the security compute. So in Copilot, there is something called SCU, the computational units, because whenever you run a prompt, you burn a unit. The pricing model is that it's a compute unit, so security compute unit. For running a particular query or a prompt, there will be a backend machine IOPS that will be burnt, and it is charged. So as of now, you can go and find that it is actually one compute unit takes $3 to $4, depending on depending on your customer, that can have a more discounting. But generally, it depends on how good your agent or your prompts you are developing. Based on that, you can actually consume lesser and lesser compute units. Now let's talk about something which is relevant to you. DLP, data loss protection. I think it's relevant for all the customers in Dynamics 365. And you need to actually, if you have to give them a report or something. So what I did is, what I'll show you is that this is something which is in preview in Microsoft. I'm giving something which is out of the box, something which you do not have to go and create, but you can really go and test even with your client or tell them. So what it does is that this agent reviews the data loss prevention alerts to detect any leaked data and evaluate its sensitivity. Now, every organization, if they even do not have a full-blown security team, there will be some CTO who is very enthusiastic and will go and search what was the threat in their organizational industry segment every day. There will be some blog, okay, some blog that they will be following and everything, and they will try to ask you, and if they do not have a mechanism, they will try and ask you, can you go and check whether my environment is protected with so much data? Is there any leakage that can happen? How will you go and check? The important thing is that you can have a AI prompt which is readily integrated with Purview and can give you a report in a click. Now, I'll show you how it is done and what's the basis of it. So it examines the relevant documents to prioritize the alerts and helping resolve the DLP. So I'm going to show you. If you look at that, this is a live demo which I did for a client. So this is my agent, right? It is mapped to it, and I'm running this agent. So this is the alert categorization. When it actually clicked it, it was on a real time, and I'm not doing any 2x speed or anything. It is on a real time connected with my data source. So it is just showing that for that particular subscription, by the way, Copilot agent will be on a tenant basis, right? So you have to have Copilot, any Copilot, at least for Copilot for security, it is based on a particular tenant. In that tenant, any subscription you can query. So very important. It is based on a tenant basis, Copilot for security, and in that, any subscription you can query. Now it is giving me all the details. If you have seen that if there was an exfiltration risk, if there was a policy risk, and if there was any kind of email or SharePoint or any data where the data sharing happened with any DLP risk. So this was the kind of the details it was sharing with me. Now, I'll go directly now to the demo. Just allow me a moment. Now let me show you the Copilot. So basically, what I'm going to show you, my entire Copilot for security is connected to my central security hub, where it is creating all the alerts and everything. Now, how does the Copilot for security looks like? So I'll start from scratch for you. So if you see, it's called securitycopilot.microsoft.com. Simple. If you have your Copilot licensing enabled, it will be enabled everywhere. Now, Microsoft has literally done a very beautiful thing. It has merged the way security was looked at. Earlier, it was different portals for different functionality. They have now merged it in security.microsoft.com, where you can literally see, I'm going to show you how Copilot is embedded here. You can literally see the exposure management. You can literally see the investigation. You see the identities, endpoints, email, cloud apps, and everything out here embedded. Now, this portal powers Microsoft Security Copilot. So in one portal, if you have all the data, then your prompt quality increases. Just, yeah, so the prompt quality increases. So I'll just show you a last piece of thing. Here, I have a agentic AI raw file where this is a framework where I have the agentic AI details given there. Then I have the skill groups. Skill group means what I'm trying to describe there. So for example, if I'm trying to target an endpoint with a particular name, I define it here. And then in that particular prompt or in that agentic AI, in a very simple JSON formula, I say, what are the steps it will follow? So instead of creating multiple queries or JSON file, I have a format in which I can literally say that, okay, I will search all the endpoints, I will validate the value, I will try to actually see what are the critical CVEs which are there, and then I will check the CISA KB articles to say whether application layer there is a probability of an attack and everything, and create a final report. How does it look like? So it looks something like this. I go to my Copilot. This is the agents preview mode. It's still in the preview. I'll just show you one thing, one of the output which is already I've run. So I'm going to show you something which I was talking that always protect your endpoint. So if I go to the agent and it talks about all the functions it will do, I'll just show you a recorded session because this is something it will be helpful. Now, it does give me a result that it appears that there was an issue with sending the email, blah, blah, blah. Now, if I see the activity, it gives me a details that what it actually does. So if you look on the activity map, it will show you that what it does. So it tells you exactly how it started the engine and from where, how the child skills or the particular prompts it actually asks you to run. And then it gives you a report, something like this, that this is the executive summary. So basically, this is a summary which gets sent to the C-level person who asked you, I've thought about a particular attack. Can you give me a report? Or can you check whether there is any vulnerability? Yes, Mr. Customer, I have a single prompt which I can run, and it will give me an entire report. So this is the power of Copilot, where actually if you have the right sources, then it is a click of a prompt through which you can actually do the entire thing. And important is that when you're using the Copilot, the only thing is that there are some certain things called prompt and there are certain things called sources. So in this sources, you need to enable which sources you want. And if you see, I had something called public web out here. If I'm not having, I can also query that if I'm not query that I want to understand about a particular, like a web search. But generally, for your particular specific Copilot, you won't turn on any kind of public web interface. Okay, so you will only connect with the Microsoft and the non-Microsoft agents. So if you see, these are all the log sources which it has, and then it will be enabling all your prompts and everything. So with that, I do not want to boil the ocean and give you more context about how to write that JSON, but I wanted to give you a glimpse that agentic AI is being so easy that if you want to do a customization, is very few JSON scripts that you need to know, and you can create a child skill and you can create an AI which will do a multiple search. And for Copilot for Agent, there are multiple out of the box where you do not have to write a JSON file, but you can just go in the Copilot and just you can run multiple things out there by default. So with that, I will take a pause. Any questions? Sorry, I think I forgot to actually switch off my Teams. Over to you, Venki.
Thank you so much, Deblohit. So we always listen to F&O things, but on the security side, I think it's an eye opener for many of us because we never look into it because Microsoft takes care more of it. But now since you're here, and it's a very good eye opener for all of us. And you did one more webinar, which I really impressed on the topic what you have shown us. So thank you so much for making it today for the community. And I know it's a working day and making it out of the work, it's difficult. Yeah, I can see your team's messages. So thank you so much. A small token of thanks from our side. Thank you, Deblohit. We have a couple of more sessions left. And next is Swapnil here. Hi everyone. Swapnil is also known person in all our community. So I met him through one of the community event here, and he's also presenting in many events this time. So thank you so much, Swapnil, for accepting our invite to present here. The stage is all yours.
Yeah, thank you, Venkat. So, hello everyone. Welcome to another Power Pack session on Copilot. And here we are going to dive into something which is not just